been talking about problems, working on problems. So, but somehow all of these problems, in one way or another, were fundamental and proved to be very influential in the theory. So, how did you always manage to come up with such problems? I mean, usually people have difficulty, they build theories, but you solved problems, and from the problems came huge theories that were developed afterwards.
I don't know. First, you're exaggerating.
I'm not exaggerating. That's the truth.
But I don't know. You work on problems that you like, that catch your fancy. I once was visiting France, and some young man who was a graduate student came up to me, and he said, "How do you find a problem to work on?"
Yes.
And I said, "Well, I don't know quite how to answer that question, but it's happened to me sometimes that I've read some proof, some known theorem, and I didn't like the proof. And so I started to think about it, and then this led to something new."
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "I never found the proof I didn't like." And I thought, the guy's hopeless.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
But how to choose good problems, I don't know. Brézis is terrific at coming up with problems.
True.
Yeah. We sit in a talk together, and any talk he hears, he comes up with new problems. So he's wonderful with students. He's had marvelous students, incidentally. And he's wonderful at proposing problems to students. They just come out of thin air.
But you also had marvelous students. How many students did you have?
I had 45. Oh, that's one of the joys of being a mathematician, having good students.
Right.
And you learn from them more maybe than they learn from you.
Yes. And you managed not only to have many good students, but also many friends in the years, in mathematics and otherwise. I know that.
Oh yeah, the mathematics community, I think of as a family. And you go to some other country, and you're part. You meet other members of the family, and you're immediately at home with them, and it's a wonderful thing, absolutely marvelous thing.
And also, you've been, myself included, a great supporter of young people, not only who came to the institute, but everywhere. I should tell the story, if I may, about you, Professor Nirenberg. I was just barely finishing my postdocs here, and you were supposed to give a lecture at Collège de France, and the amphitheater was filled, and people were flooding through the amphitheater. And then you started your lecture, says, "Well, I'm not going to talk about my work. I'm going to talk about the work of a young professor at Quran, Jalal Shatah, and Henry McCain." And I remember it. I mean, here I am just starting in mathematics, and you elected to give the exposure to other people than yourself. And you always have done that throughout your life. So that's very kind.
I didn't remember that.
I remember it, because you've done it so often that you don't remember it.
Well, let me tell you, in connection with that, I once was at Berkeley invited to give a talk, and I said, "I'm going to speak about a paper of Paul Rabinowitz."
Uh-huh.
And they said to me, "Next week, Paul is coming, and he's speaking on that paper." So when I got home, I called Paul, and I said, "Begin your talk with the following story," which is a story I heard in Moscow many years ago. At the Writers' Club, they used to show foreign films which were not shown commercially. So they were not dubbed, and they had no subtitles, and they would have somebody translating simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they were showing a French film, and the usual French translator was not there. Mm-hmm. So they said, "Is there somebody here who speaks French?" And a mathematician got up. "Yeah, I know some French." So he began to translate. But he didn't know French very well. He made up a story. And he was very witty, amusing. At some point it looked as though the guy's about to marry his sister, but he somehow got out of that. He managed very well. The audience loved it. Yeah. They demanded that it be shown again next week. Oh. Next week, the real translator was there. They booed him. So Paul did begin his lecture with this story.